Ladies and gentlemen and programmers, we're going to do lesson 5, the piano part 3. We're going to learn abstraction, how to make one key class play a bunch of different sounds when you press different keys on the keyboard. All right, so we have this new version of the check key press method in your own scenario. This should fix that problem of the key press playing over and over again. Okay, so if is down is not true and somebody's pressing the G key, play the sound, set the image to the down image. Is down is now equal to true, and over here if, and then this if as well. Okay, what is this type of thing called? The and the not. What are these things called? If you don't know the answer, ask me. What is this type of thing called? Is down. Okay, what are those things called? By the way, but your check key press method should now look like this. If it doesn't, fix it. By the way, if you have if is down equals false, that will do the exact same thing. If you have and greenfoot is key down G equals false, that's the exact same thing. But I do want you to, if you have that, at least switch one to not. Get rid of the equals false and put in not on at least either here or here, because I want you to understand that how to use that logical or Boolean operator. Okay, so here's what you should have so far. You should have added private Boolean is down up here right after the class header. You should have added that code. You should have added this code that we just looked at. So your check key press should look like that. This old code should have been replaced. So if you still have this somewhere, that's not good. It should now look like this. If you can't figure out how to do that, ask me about it. Okay. All right, now check this out. Producing the sound. What is this called when you say, hey, play, I want you to do this thing that you already know how to do? And then what is this thing called when you teach it how to do something new? Okay, so in just kind of a review here, what do you call this and what do you call this whole thing? Okay, good, keep going. All right, here's what I want you to do. Create two keys and put them into the world, and then press the G key and then answer the question, what is wrong? What do we need to do to make the keys react to different keyboard keys? Answer those questions. What's wrong and what do we need to do? All right, so let's see. So check this out. Let's take a look at a file here. All right, check this out. So what a lot of people will say is like, oh, well, we need to make a key class that plays the G key and plays 3/8 wave, and we need to make another key class that plays the H key and it's going to play 3B wave, and we need to have this key that, at any rate, so you're going to be copying the same code over and over and over again, and then like, oh, wait, we need to update the code here. I'm going to make a change, and we're going to do it on this key, and then we're going to do it on this key, and then we're going to do it on this key. It's like that makes zero sense because the keys, for the most part, do exactly the same thing. We just need to use the concept of abstraction so that we can make one key class that does everything we want to do, right? So the solution is not to create a bunch of different classes that do mostly the same thing but a little bit different stuff. So we need to make a key that can make all kinds of keys that play different sounds. Yeah. Okay. So write this down in your handout. Whenever we see the sissy blue color, you need to get out your handout. So this does not go on the line paper. This goes in the handout. So I want you to fill this in. Abstraction occurs in many different forms in programming. One of them is the technique to write code that can solve multiple problems rather than a single specific problem. Just like one key class that can play lots of different sounds when we press different keys on the keyboard. All right, check this out. We're going to use the concept of abstraction to turn our key class from a class that can only play 3/8 wave when the G key is pressed into one that can create objects that can play a range of notes when different keyboard keys are pressed. It will make both black and white keys. Okay, by the way, so each object here, so let's say this. So each of these objects, so I'm going to put one of these guys in, okay, and then I'm going to put the same one in, and this one. Okay, what's different? What this guy needs to know something. What 4 things should be different about this guy than this guy? Okay, what 4 things should be different about this guy than this guy? Okay, that's the question. What 4 things need to be different with each key? Okay, write that. If you don't know, ask me. Okay, but you should be able to figure it out. What 4 things should be different about each key? All right, here's what I want you to do. So, well, basically, here's the answer, by the way. They should play a different key, or they should play when you press a different key. They should play a different sound. They should have a different up image and down image, because some have a white up image and some have a black up image. Some have a white down image, others have a black down image. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create these instance variables to hold those 4 different things. So we already have, by the way, you already have this, you already have this. Now we're going to add this, 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 and this. Okay. Create an instance variable to hold the name of the key. Create an instance variable to hold the sound file. Create an instance variable to hold the up image and the down image. Write this code. By the way, what do you call it when you make an empty box like this? So private string key. We have an empty box named key. We haven't put anything into it. What is it called when you first make that box? If you don't know the answer, ask me. Okay, draw a graph. Okay, so now get out. Oh, that's not sissy blue. That's supposed to be a sissy blue color. Well, it's kind of sissy blue. It's not as sissy as I was hoping. All right, what I want you guys to do is get out your handout and draw a graphical. I'm going to start shaking hands with somebody that doesn't even exist, the way I'm talking. All right, draw a graphical representation of the key. By the way, if you watch this video years from now, you won't have any idea that is a political reference. Ask me about it. All right, draw a graphical representation of the key object and its instance variable like I would. So draw a picture. We just did these. We have key, sound, up image, down image. What would that look like? And then answer these questions on. So this goes. So this goes in the handout, and then answer what are the names of the first and second instance variables, and the third and the fourth instance variables. What are their data types, and what does that mean? All right. Well, what we have is we have key, sound. That's a string, right? That's going to hold letters. Sound is going to hold letters. Up image is going to hold a Greenfoot image. Down image is going to hold a Greenfoot image. Your graphical representation should look like this, because each key object is going to have their own key, sound, up image, and down image. And so that's how we're going to get it to where each key does something different. Okay. All right. Now here's the next part. Okay. So hopefully you wrote this code. Now, the trick is we need to get a different key, a different sound, a different up image, and a different down image into every key. Well, we're going to do that using the constructor, because the constructor builds it. It's a special method that runs one time at the beginning to help build our key. Now, you already have this code, public key. You already have a constructor, right? So type in public key. Well, don't type this. You already have it, okay? But you're going to type in string key name, comma, string sound file. So we've not done that before, I don't think, where we've added parameters into our constructor. Add parameters to the constructor so that that each bit of information can be passed in when the object is constructed, right? Okay, so what we're gonna do is whenever we make a key, we're gonna send in the information. Oh, here's your key name. Here's your sound file. We're sending it in. We're passing in additional data. Okay, and then we're gonna go from key name into key, and from sound file into sound. So sound equals sound file, key equals key name. The up image. So for now, they're all going to be white images. We'll switch it to the black images later. All right, and we already had this is down as false, right? We should have already had that if you don't do it. But anyway, don't retype this whole thing. We already had this, and we already had this. We're adding this, 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 and this. Okay, add this code. If you don't know where to, ask me. What is a constructor, and why is it a good place to put this code? Why is it a good place to put this, 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 and this? Why do we use parameters here? Well, I'm going to tell you the answer. Because the parameters allow us to pass in additional data, and that's exactly what we need. We need to pass in different information for each key. What do you call it when you stick something in your empty box for the first time? So right now, sound was empty, and then we stuck something into it for the first time. What is that called? Answer those questions. All right. Now, again, we have our handout. So now this is not going on line paper. It's going on your handout. All right, write this down. My head is in the way. You tell it parameters when you first create the key. Then they are stashed into our instance variables. Okay. All right. So I guess I better tell you about local variables versus instance variables. All right. See this right here? String key name. That's a variable. That's a local variable. We haven't talked about local variables yet. String sound file, that's a local variable. We haven't talked about local variables. Key and sound, those are instance variables. We do know about instance variables. So what we know about instance variables is they belong to the key. and they last forever. As long as that key's on the screen, these boxes will remain with that key because it needs that information. On the other hand, this is a local variable. It lasts the code. Whenever we run this code, it goes boom, 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 boom. It goes in order, right? It goes in sequence order, right? As soon as we get right here, it makes key name, it makes sound file, and as soon as we get to the end of this method, key name and sound file disappear. We don't need them anymore. We don't need them clogging up the RAM, so they just disappear. So they're local. They're local to this method. They only live in this method, right? So what happens is we send in the information. We store it temporarily in key name. We store the sound file name temporarily in sound file. The problem is these are going to delete, and we actually need these things permanently. So we stash them in our instance variable key and our instance variable sound. These last forever. And so we were able to pass it in and then store it permanently. We passed it in, store it permanently. So you tell it the parameters when you first create the key, boom, boom, and then that good information is stored permanently in our instance variables. All right, write that down in your notes. In your handout, I should say. All right, implement the changes discussed. We already did that. Okay, now check this out. Add a key to the world. What happens? What happens? Okay, now when you add a key to the world, what happens? Let's take a look. Let's see what the heck is happening here. All right, so when I add my head in the way. All right, so when I add a new key, okay, boom, oh my gosh, what does that mean? Well, what it means is now our constructor has parameters and we have to pass in the additional data. It's like, oh, you're putting in a new key. What is the key? Well, I'm going to say it needs its string, so I'm going to put in parentheses. I'm going to say this one's going to play with a P. Okay. And what's the sound file? Well, I'm just going to do old 3a.wav because I know that one. If I looked in the sound folder, I'd be able to find them all. Okay, so now when I put that key in the world, and when I hit the P key, okay, and these were set up different. So one is with the G key, one is with this key. I don't know. Okay, so what? So what happens? Well, whenever you add in a key, we get a little pop-up saying, hey, we gotta pass in that additional data. Okay, and then now we're able to make keys that play with different sounds and different keys. All right, that's good. All right, answer this in your handouts. Why does this pop up when you add a key to the world now? Well, because we have this thingy over here. Let's look in here. Hold on. I read the answer. I'm going to answer this if I can get to it. Maybe I won't answer it. So we have this thing here. If you go into key, okay, so we have this constructor that has key name and sound file. And so you have to answer those questions now. So you have to pass in that. It demands that you pass in that data. So we added parameters to the constructor is the answer. We're adding it, but they're still not doing the right thing. So fix the code so the keys play with the correct key and the correct sound. All right. So here's the problem, right? So we're passing in the correct information, but look what we're doing. It's always playing with what key. It's always playing with what key. It's always playing what sound. Okay. So the question is, what do we replace this with? What do we replace this with? Okay, see if you can figure it out. Replace the G with the correct instance variable. Replace 3a.wave with the correct instance variable. See if you can get it. Okay? If you can't, ask me. Okay, so hit pause. Don't go on until you get that. All right, so here's what we have now. Okay, so now you have a key that plays with the G, 3a.wave. You have a key that can play with A or S or D, and it plays 3b.wave or whatever you chose. So we have different objects. So we have different instances of the class with different values for the instance variables, right? So you have key and sound. So even though they're made with the same class, this one has different information in its instance variables, right? Right? Because when you put in, whenever you do this, new key G, right? So that goes into key name, and that goes directly into sound file, right? So it goes right into key name, right into sound file. right? Then those things disappear, right? Key name and sound file are local variables. Local variables belong to the method, right? Write this down. They only work in the method. They disappear when the method has finished running. So they only last from here to here, and then they disappear. That's bad. That's not good because we need them. That key needs to know G, and it needs to know 3A.wave. So what are we going to do instead? Well, here's what we're going to do instead. Okay, so G goes into key name. Sound goes into sound file, right? Right, but here's what we're going to do. Before they disappear, we are going to stick them in our instance variables. So we're going to stick them in a key and sound file because these are going to disappear, but these are instance variables. They belong to that instance of the class and they'll last forever. Okay? So, and then when these disappear, it doesn't matter. We're all good because we have them in our instance variable. All right, what kind of thing is key name and sound file? Key name, sound file. We already just said that they're local variables. Local variables. All right, what is the difference between an instance variable and a local variable? All right, I don't want to give it away, but an instance variable lasts forever and belongs to the key. A local variable disappears because it just belongs to this method, and as soon as you get to right there, they disappear. Why is it bad that key name and sound file disappear? It's bad because we need that information permanently. Why is it good that they disappear? Well, sometimes it's good for them to disappear because if you don't need it permanently, you get them out of the RAM, you don't clog up the RAM. In this case, we did need them, so that's why we passed them into the instance variable. All right, answer those questions. All right, so now if you didn't do it already, replace this with key name. So instead of is key down G, you delete that, get rid of the quotation marks, and put key name. And you get rid of the quotation marks and 3A.wave, and you put your instance variable sound file. Replace G with key name, replace 3A.wave with sound file. No quotation marks. What is the error and why do you get it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's going to cause an error. What's the error and why do you get it? You don't know how to do it? All right. Well, the reason is key name and sound file are instance variables. They only work here. After this, they don't work, right? So what we really need to replace them with was what? Key and sound. Key and sound. All right, so there should be, replace this with key and replace this with sound, and then you're not going to get any instance variables. Or you're not going to get any error messages, I should say. All right, show me your project that has multiple instances of the same key class that can play different sounds when different letters are pressed on the keyboard. Answer this question. Answer that question. Answer that question. Answer that question. All right, that's it for now.